what can I say right now? So I have got my cup of green tea. I've got my candles burning. I've got my oils diffusing is the word. And I am here to spend some time talking about um, the Beliefs Challenge, part 3. Holy moly. Do you know, my brain this morning has been boggled by coronavirus. Um, and I keep getting emails from all service providers, all shops, all everything about how everyone is starting to genuinely go into lockdown. And from somebody who doesn't watch the news, because I don't want to be impacted and influenced by things that are outside of my control, I tend not to buy into the hype of it all. However, interestingly, I started to really acknowledge yesterday the amount of fear that has arisen as a result of this real sad situation. And, you know, it's not people being it's not people buying into the fear. All right. A lot of people are saying, I don't believe that it's people buying into the fear. I I believe, fabulous on a belief challenge, that people are going to react, not respond, react in a way that they can, the best that they can, by processing the best that they can. Yes, some people have jumped off the reservation. I get that. But, you know, social media and the marketplace and everything else is sharing that because it's the extreme. What they're not showing is the other extreme of people who are just carrying on, carrying on. And that's not because they're naive, and it's not because they aren't interested or that they don't care. But until it impacts them directly, it hasn't touched their immediate world, right? So I believe that people are doing the best they can. I believe that other people are doing the best they can when they're under stress and extreme emotion and fear. They're still doing the best they can whilst they're dealing with that. So educating them and helping to bring them down is one of the positive things and one of the best things that we possibly can do, you know. And I know that there are some people who are close to me who have debilitating illnesses, who have weakened immune systems, who are fighting a good fight every single day without this infiltrating their hearts, heads, emotions, and minds. And I know that they are taking extra measures to keep themselves safe. And I applaud you, because everybody is doing their best, right? Everyone is doing the best with what they have and what they can do. The difference is right now that it's the focus of everyone's mind. So everyone is saying the pandemic, the coronavirus, everyone is saying what we are to be afraid of and what we're to be fearful about. People aren't saying, here's the best way to keep yourself healthy. Here's the best way to look after yourself at the first signs of being out and about and worrying. I think it's the language, it's the way that it's told, it's the words that are used, and yeah, this isn't something that I anticipated I was going to talk about when I come on, but it's clearly infiltrating my mind now and making me start to question and want to know a little bit more and start to understand why people are feeling the way that they're feeling and why they are starting to go into lockdown. You know, it's come into my world at a more immediate level now, where I'm starting to understand and realize that people are doing the best they can with the information they have and under the duress and stress of the emotions and fear that they are facing. They are doing the best that they can. So let's talk about consciously creating your beliefs. Yeah. So, talking about coronavirus and everything else, you know, back in the day when I was younger, less conscious, less aware, very scared and very focused, I always had this massive fear of being ill. Like it was huge. I was terrified of being sick, and it was interesting actually because my mum turned out to have quite a huge illness. For those of you that don't know, she's a survivor of a brain tumor, and incredibly courageous and amazing woman. But I always was so frightened of being ill. Like I could focus so much on my body that I would create pain and discomfort. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. But it was the fear of being so unwell that overwhelmed me. And I was never unwell. I was always such a healthy kid, and I was so fortunate. And instead of focusing on how fortunate and grateful I was, I succumbed to fear. And I think fear is probably one of the biggest emotions that we feel that is a reaction to an experience or a situation or a place that we're in that really embeds beliefs. It really does kind of create the foundation of what you then deem to be true through an experience. It's one of the most powerful emotions that create either fight or flight. You know, we either stand and fight, we freeze, or we run away. And fear is such an incredible emotion because it creates a nervous system response that allows our body to build with adrenaline and hormones that enable us to react to whatever it is that we are feeling so fearful about. And it's heat of the moment kind of stuff, right? So once we come out the other end of that, our beliefs that we have created have been so impacted by the emotions that we have felt that they have become so solid. Yeah? It's almost like you have this experience, you have this belief that is then created as a result of that experience that you now deem to be true. And then on top of that, you compound it with the weight of all the emotions that were created. It's almost like if you were to, I said to you yesterday, and even the day before, sorry, my phone's just going off the hook. So said to you yesterday and the day before when I was doing the other two beliefs challenge, that you write your list of what beliefs are coming up for you when you're doing certain things. What beliefs are coming up for you, and what is that? What do I believe to be true about that? What do I believe to be true about that? What do I believe to be true about that? In terms of the responses, the reactions, the behaviors that have caused you to be and feel and think and follow through on something in the way in which you do. Get curious about it. Get so curious. Get intensely curious, and really self-inquire. And when you go down that route, you start to understand that there are experiences that have created those. So when you go down the rabbit hole and you go, right, so where did that belief come from? When was it the first time that I experienced that belief? What is the memory that I am calling on when that belief pops to the surface? When was the first time that I would have experienced that? When is the first time that I recall that it automatically comes up? And just allow that first thing to bubble up, that first response, that first thing that you think about that is calling you. Allow that to come forward and just notice, is it a belief that was occurring because you experienced it? Is it a belief that is occurring because you were being told within that experience that was true, and that you were led down that route of understanding and believing that was the case? And as a result, what were the emotions you were feeling in that experience? Because oftentimes that combination is what really solidifies that belief for you. Now, when we get into this part of consciously creating the beliefs that you want to have, so yesterday we talked about having two lists, yeah? We talked about having two lists, the lists that you really want to believe in. I have unlimited potential. I love to be challenged because I then grow, and the beliefs that you have now about, I'm limited in my potential. I'm definitely limited in my potential through my thoughts and my mindset and what I deem to be true. I'm not that interesting. I don't have an interesting enough story. No one's going to want to hear from me. I've got nothing to say. All of these beliefs that don't withstand the reality that you so desire. So, it's not as simple as just getting rid of these beliefs and going, I believe in this, and then this is what it is, because that's a mindset. Your beliefs are underpinned by what you can deem to be true. So you have to get into that situation of proving to yourself that this is possible. So you might start to say, hey, Melanie, how are you going? You might start to say, I have unlimited potential. And then you can start to list all of the things that you never thought you'd be able to do that you've achieved or you've accomplished, or things that you've experienced that you never thought you'd get to or live through, or things that you made happen. When you create a list like that, you kind of start to undermine this belief that says, I'm not that interesting. I haven't really done that much. I kind of limit myself because I'm just not that. I'm just average. I just want to be normal. All of these things over here where you've just said that you've done some astounding things kind of go against the fact that you said you kind of want to just be normal, because you can't be normal and do these fabulous things, right? So Melanie's saying, hi, I need to replay yesterday's. Awesome. It is available for you in the learning unit. But essentially, this is how you start to challenge your beliefs, and challenging your beliefs allows you to say, I can overwrite that. I can actually overwrite that. It is no longer a belief of mine. I can delete it. I can eradicate this belief from my being. And you can visualize that. You can literally visualize yourself letting go of that belief. There's no attachment to that. That has no power over you anymore. Literally no power over you whatsoever. I mean, for example, in the comments, give me a belief that you currently have and a belief that you'd like to replace it with, from those lists from yesterday. Give me a belief that you currently have and one that you would like to replace it with, because knowing that is directly related to what it is that you want to create in your life. How many of you that have a business, like a soul business, a business that lights you up, how many of you would want to be an award-winning business owner? Yeah? How many? I remember, and I'll tell you this because it's so relevant. Okay? I remember I started my business and I was out there and I was trying, and I'm using my language here very carefully. Hey, Maria. And I was trying to build my business. I was putting in all the effort. I was working really hard because I had a belief that that's what it would take. And I didn't take the easy route because I didn't believe there was one for business. I believed that it would be blood, sweat, tears, and, annihilation of everything that I knew. I had no idea why I had that belief, but I just obviously had a belief that things don't come easily for me and I have to freaking work for them and prove myself. So anyway, I was actually doing really well in business, considering I had no idea what I was doing when I first started. And I remember another business owner, another businesswoman who I really admire, gave me a birthday present, and it was a photo frame. And she had just won an award or something like that. She's so many. She won an award, and as part of her business franchise that she had, she was being treated to a holiday of some description. It's not multi-level marketing. It's none of that. Don't worry. Not there's anything wrong with that. But she had bought a franchise of a business. She had, as part of the organisation that she franchised through, they celebrate their top earners and top achievers and they take them away. And it was fantastic. And she honestly, I know how hard, I think when she saw me, it reminded her so much of her journey. And I don't think she ever imagined that she would get where she was. But oh boy, did she. You know, she really did it. And she gave me a photo frame. And I said to her, it's beautiful, thank you so much. And she said, Alison, it's for when you win your first business award. And I kind of looked at her and went, it's not even in my remit. Like, there are no awards for coaching. Like, I don't even know what that means. Like, I have no idea. Like, it had not even come into my awareness that there were any awards for women in business that I would ever be able to compete in. Because at that point, that's what my head was saying. You know, it's competition. You don't do competition. You just don't put yourself out there like that. So I honestly thought it was hilarious. And I could feel the resistance in me, right? So I had all these beliefs that I had no idea were there because I'd never self-inquired. I'd never had to be reflected on my behaviors in that way. But it brought up so much for me and I became aware of all of these things. And because of that, I started to challenge myself. I started to think, what would it be like? You know, and I had this vision of one day I'll be able to win an award and it will be easy. One day, I have no idea what the award will be. I have no idea if there is any such thing, but one day I'll have an award and I'll be able to travel and go to a fancy dinner and wear a wonderful, you know, outfit and it'll be fab. And that was kind of it. And I had a belief that it was never going to happen for me, but I had a vision that said it's possible. And then I had to put steps in place. So do you know what started coming into my awareness then? Was that there were awards. I saw other people in similar businesses starting out, winning awards and applying for awards. And I started to think, well, this is curious because awards had never been in my mind before. I need to, you know, the universe is now showing them to me because I had a focus on them. And I had a focus on them from the level of a curiosity around, well, how is that possible? People do clearly win awards. People do have businesses. Like, I got curious, but my focus became on, well, what's available? Are there such things? And then all I was starting to see was that there were. It's like that Facebook. It's like the Facebook algorithm of the world, the universal algorithm of the world. What you focus on grows. Where you put your attention, you start to see more of it. So when your attention is on something fabulous and wonderful, all of a sudden you start to have opportunities arise and become apparent that maybe previously you wouldn't have even noticed, but were still there. Now your focus has changed and it becomes a possibility. And you start to believe that you are capable, that you can grow into this, that it is an achievement that is in reach. Yeah? And this is consciously creating your beliefs. You have this vision. You have casted a vision of what it is that you desire the most. The how you get there is irrelevant. The beliefs that you have start to be tested. And that's when you can respond. You know, you react. You know, the minute you feel a strong emotion around anything, we talked about yesterday, you start to feel a strong emotion. And you go, oh, okay. That strong emotion is telling you something. It is telling you that you have uncovered a belief around something. Either it's working for you or it's working against you. And there's a resistance or there is an openness and an achievement. There is an emotion that has been triggered as part of that focus that allows you to see there is an option for self-inquiry. I'm curious, what is this emotion? I'm curious, what is this belief? I'm curious, what do I believe to be true about that? I'm curious, where did this first come from? I'm curious, why? Now? How? Oh. And you start to follow that pattern. And consciously creating a belief then becomes, what do I believe to be true about that? Why? How? Oh. That moment of, okay. So I see how this could be something else. I either undermine it and obliterate that belief, or I validate it and expand upon it. Yeah? And then you can test that belief and you can start to put yourself into experiences where you can grow and learn and be wise and experience. And you can start to consciously create the belief that says, aha, this is true. This is true for me. This is true for me right now. Is this going to be true for me in the future? Well, we can leave that open, belief. We can. We can leave that open because we're an evolving being. And as an evolving being, we are consciously creating our reality at every given moment, every conscious choice that we make. And as a result of all of those conscious choices here, beliefs, I can choose to obliterate you or to validate you at any time that I notice you. And when I notice you, I can get into that pattern and that higher state of being and consciousness that says, is this true for me now or in my future? Is this true for me or someone else? And that someone else can be my future self. So how good does it feel to sit with this belief? If I were to wrap this belief around me, do I feel comforted? Do I feel empowered? Do I feel supported? Do I feel as though this belief is working for my highest good? Obliterate it or validate it, you know? And you can validate parts and aspects. You don't have to keep the whole belief as it was, but you can write this down. You can journal it out. You can spend your time getting curious. And curiosity leads to the ability to consciously create your beliefs, your vision casts. Allow the how to melt and explore the wonder of natural evolution when you shift a belief. Of what you focus on is starting to be creating something astounding, something magical, something different, something possible. And there's no time frames around these things either. You know, you can let it go. And the sooner you release the expectation of delivery under certain conditions and expectations, the sooner you open yourself up to the magic, the potential, the possibility. And yet all along, you know you have this belief that is working for you in a way that helps you see your vision come alive more in technicolor, more as an all-round experience. You have emotions that are attached to it. You have the experience of having curiously questioned the process, the parts of you. You have, hey Sarah, you have allowed the past to dissolve in memories, in compassion, in understanding that occurred then. It doesn't have to be true for you now. You are an evolved being from when you previously held that belief. And then life can be different. Life can be more one of your choosing, more one of your control, because it's not necessarily what's happening to you and around you. It's how you're reacting and responding, right? It's how you're reacting and responding at each and every turn. That is where your power is. That is where your control is. That is where you remain in this higher state of conscious being. Okay? I really hope that this is meeting you where you're at. I hope this is helping you see the potential and the possibility in moving into this state of creating these beliefs, of understanding and pinpointing the power that they can have for you. So you can move from this is where I am now to this is what I want. And, you know, there are certain gaps in between, like we spoke about yesterday, but actually they can be filled by the experiences and the research and putting yourself in to test this new belief. You know, finding those awards, seeing which ones fit with your values, seeing which ones you think you'd like to expand on, to move into, where you'd like to go, how you'd like to put a presentation together for it, how you'd like to position yourself for it. You know, all of a sudden you start thinking bigger and testing your concept of being in a new arena. And that's what your beliefs are. Your beliefs are all about creating the experiences that allow you to move forward in your awareness of what is possible for you and anything Anything is possible for you. The only limit you have is up here and in here, what you feel to be true for you. And those limits are okay. There's no right, there's no wrong. It's where you're at right now, what feels right for you, what feels possible for you, what feels good for you is where you're at. And that's okay. It's these tools that you are being given through this mini belief series that allow you to start questioning, to get curious, to redefine and stretch some of those more challenging beliefs, to start owning and consciously creating the ones that you do want to be true for you. And it won't happen overnight, it takes practice. But the more you practice and the more you remind of these beliefs, the more you test them in those most emotional situations, the more you start to know that they are being embedded. It's almost like downloading a new computer hard drive. You have to download it, then you have to test that it actually works, that it's actually embedded in the system, that your body is now responding to this new programming that you've given it. And that takes time. It's like going from an automatic car to a manual car. You have to just remind yourself how you're going to do this and how seamlessly you can sit in a car and drive it. For me, it's a hire car. If I get given a hire car, I'm like, right, I have to find my way here. I have to figure out, how does this seat need to be sitting to support me? Where are the mirrors? Do I need to move things? Where are the indicators? Where are the, everything's just a bit different. It's just a bit different. And you have to just sit yourself in there and wear it and experiment and figure out the dimensions and of the car and the room that you have and how you're going to drive. And for a while, you play it really safe because you're testing the water. You're finding your flow with that new vehicle. Same, but different. Okay. All right. Here's to our beliefs mini series. Thank you all for joining me. I'm looking forward to seeing what you changed. I want to hear from you. I want to hear the beliefs that you had that you've identified. I want to hear from you the beliefs that you have adopted or are embedding that you want to download. And how are they going to make your life better? How are they going to improve things for you? How are you going to connect with those new beliefs every single day to test them, to see how they fit, to wear them, to use them as a tool to empower you, to really feel this new and expanded being that you are creating from that higher place of consciousness. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me. I've really enjoyed going through this beliefs mini-series with you. I really, really have. If you have any questions at any point, let me know. And if there's anything that I can do to support you or help you through this process, reach out. I am here to help.